Hey everyone, so there's been a lot of talk going on, a lot of news out there about real estate over the last week, and I thought I'd put a video together and address it head on. Number one, we are actually excited about the change that is going to be coming through the National Association Realtors settlement, NAR settlement, that has been proposed here at M&D Real Estate. We're agents of change, and is what we like to see ourselves as, and this is going to be a change coming to our industry. It's going to shake it up, and to a degree, it was needed. There are some cons that I want to address, and let's just talk about it head on. So what are the changes? Changes are that no longer are you going to be able to post a buyer's agent commission on MLS any longer. So you can't advertise it to other agents. You never saw it as a consumer before, but you can't advertise it any longer. And also the other change is that a buyer rep is going to be required before we can show houses as real estate agents. So I'll address the first change. The biggest change is you can't no longer advertise in the MLS. And so agents are freaked out about this. To be honest, here at M&D Real Estate, we also do a lot of commercial business, so it's business as usual for us in commercial. There is no platform, LoopNet, CoStar, Crexy, all of the platforms out there where you find commercial real estate. On the backside, you don't see what the buyer's agent is going to get paid. And so what happens is you just negotiate that through the offer. Does it decrease the commission? No, typically the deal is 6%, and it's taken from the listing side on the listing agreement, and it's just allocated but negotiated whenever the offer is made. And so that's what's going to happen going forward. Is the negotiation is going to come through the offer of the contract at the time of the offer. So that is going to be very unique to the residential real estate industry, and it's going to shake it up to the point where quality is going to matter, because all of a sudden you have to have a value proposition. You can't just open doors and expect to get paid. And people will pay for a representation, and that is what is going to be required, is good representation, not just opening doors, negotiating, handling the contracts properly, all the way to close, making sure you're there and buying a good asset, the largest asset that you're going to buy most likely. And so what the biggest thing is a lot of promotions are going to go out there, and we're going to see agents advertising ridiculous amounts for the buyer's agent commission. That's going to happen. And then also you're going to get what you pay for. And I really am concerned that there's going to be a lot of lawsuits that come out of that action when everybody starts going the fastest to zero on the buyer rep, because you're going to get what you pay for. There's a lot of work, a ton of work, and there's a ton of knowledge. Agents that have decades of experience make mistakes on the buy side. So now, can a buyer represent themselves? Yes, absolutely, a buyer can represent themselves, but most of the time it's 5%, maybe 10% of the population that really can represent themselves. Just like in the commercial side. Commercial, it's about the same percentage. People want representation. They want to, just like you don't go into a court of law and say, hey, I'm going to represent myself. You want to have good representation. Somebody's going to fight on your behalf. And that's going to be the important part. I really feel like it's going to shift our industry to quality. And that's what people are going to look for in their agent versus just a friend or somebody to open a door. And it's going to begin to make a difference in our industry. So that's what M&D Real Estate is excited about in this and embracing as a change. But the three misconceptions that I see coming out of this are, number one, the seller does not pay 100% of the commission. And I completely understand why that is a misconception. I even myself have looked at this. I Googled and searched on commissions and how they're structured, and every piece of material out there says sellers pay the commission for the transaction. Well, technically they do at closing. You see on the seller side, the seller has it on their statement. But the reality is that the buyer actually is paying for the property, and the seller it's just coming out of their side of the contract. So in other words, if the buyer has to buy the property and pay for the commission, all that does is bring down the price of the home. Since we've been doing transactions in real estate, the buyers have been paying for their portion, their share of the commissions. They're the one that bring the money to the table. But we as an industry have not communicated that well. We've actually communicated just the opposite, just to win buyers. If we're being transparent, hey, Mr. Buyer, you don't have to pay anything. Well, that was a kind of customary thing, and that's gone. Buyer does have to pay something, always has paid something, and it's just going to be more transparent now. So that's a good thing that's come out of this. Another misconception, that commissions drive the market. What you have to understand about markets is that markets are not driven by anything other than a ready, willing, and able buyer. I don't care what market it is. And whatever that ready, willing, able buyer is willing to pay for a property, that's the market price. Now, there's different markets like we saw a couple years ago where we had multiple offers and we were fighting, paying way over ask price. At that time, we were actually seeing commissions coming down just naturally because the market was dictating it. And that's what markets do. So hopefully that helps you understand the second misconception. The third misconception is going to be commissions are dead. News outlets out there, they love to put this out there because it's clickbait. Nobody likes to pay a commission. I don't care if it's real estate, trading stocks, whatever. Nobody likes to pay commissions. But it's just part of business, is the brokering side. And so news outlets love to say they're dead, basically. That's all the clickbait that's out there. The new rules that come out don't change the commissions, period. There's nothing changing the commissions. It's just changing how they're displayed. And the market will dictate what commissions do. Hopefully those three misconceptions clear things up for you with my explanation. Finally, my worries about the change, I would say my cons on the change and how it affects the consumer that I'm worried about is that this is going to falsely empower the consumer to believe that, hey, I can go represent myself. I'm just going to call the listing agent by myself and I'm going to represent myself, or I'm going to just go through him, is probably what you're going to be thinking as a consumer. And we see more of this in commercial where you're going to just go straight to that listing agent. I don't need a buyer's agent. There's no commission there, blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm worried about. And I think it will happen, especially with the news that's going out. And the unfortunate thing is that this is the largest asset that you're going to buy as a consumer, most likely. And there's representation needed. It's just like going into the court of law. You want representation. You want to have somebody in your corner. And what's going to happen is that they're going to buy the house. They're going to miss steps that seasoned agents miss. And then they're going to start filing lawsuits because there's so many laws that protect the consumer out there. Attorneys are going to eat it up, just like they're eating up the technicality that they found and have sued all these real estate agencies over. So they're going to be pursuing lawsuits against sellers at that time, because the reality is that a real estate agent, we're allowed to do dual agency, but like here at M&D Real Estate, we don't do dual agency where we represent both parties, and most real estate firms don't. So the agent is going to only be representing the seller, and that consumer is not going to be protected through that. So I think we'll see a lot of that coming out of it, and then the shift will come back to what I started it with. Then the buyer's agents are going to be looking for quality, and those that are doing well and doing the systems right to protect the consumer, they're going to thrive in this. And that's why we're excited here about the change because we see ourselves as agents of change in this industry, and we don't see it as bad news. We're not mad. It's a pivot, but we're looking forward to the future and excited about the future.